that President Trump made when he first ran for office was that in America we would be able to say Merry Christmas again. And I think it's safe to say that he has accomplished that. We can say Merry Christmas again.
Kudos to this guest for keeping a straight face, because I would have really struggled not to laugh out loud. Okay, guys, up next, we've got to talk about the war on Christmas and on saying Merry Christmas, which, of course, under the dark days of President Biden was made illegal, punished with jail time, and you even said it. People would give you dirty looks if you said Merry Christmas. No, not actually, of course, but that is somewhat, actually no, entirely unironically, how one Fox News anchor is presenting it. This is Charles Hurt filling in for Jesse Waters on Fox News Primetime, making, at least in my view, an eye-roll-inducing comment about Trump saving Merry Christmas. I want to talk about this and then also get into some of the Trump administration's social media posts about Christmas that have some people crying foul on the separation of church and state. First, let's listen to this funny Fox News clip. Buckle up.
Fox News contributor Joe Concha is here with me tonight. Great to see you, Joe. You know, one of the little remembered promises that President Trump made when he first ran for office was that in America we would be able to say Merry Christmas again. And I think it's safe to say that he has accomplished that. We can say Merry Christmas again.
Kudos to this guest for keeping a straight face, because I would have really struggled not to laugh out loud. I mean, it is not the case. At least, I don't know, maybe if you're living in the wokest part of San Francisco, would they have scolded you and said, this is a holiday tree, not a Christmas tree, or don't say Merry Christmas, that's problematic, say Happy Holidays. But even as insane as woke stuff did get, it was never considered offensive to say Merry Christmas. Christmas was never marginalized from American life. I mean, I don't know, go outside. That wasn't a thing. It certainly wasn't, and I had many criticisms of him, so don't mistake this for me promoting the Biden administration, but it wasn't even a thing under the Biden administration. They were not, in fact, waging war on Christmas, and the Biden administration itself put out Merry Christmas posts. Like, the whole narrative here is very silly, this idea, and it crops up once in a while in the Fox News universe and such. There's a war on Christmas, and it's very silly because it has no real bearing on reality for most Americans across the country, and it kind of makes you look out of touch and absurd. But the Trump administration is also doing this. So Trump put out a post where they said, from the official White House account, we are saying Merry Christmas again, quote marks at POTUS, and then it's a picture of Trump next to a Christmas tree. It's like, dude, no one stopped. And this recasting Christians as this viciously oppressed minority in America is not real. It's not in keeping with the observable facts of life on the ground for most people. And it actually is unfortunate because there was and is a genuine threat to religious liberty in this country and to the rights and freedoms of Christian traditionalist Americans. I covered it extensively over the years with things like the LGBT activist trying to crush that Christian baker and destroy his life and destroy his business and calling in death threats because he wouldn't bake a gay wedding cake. And legally speaking, attempts to erode businesses and organizations and churches' religious freedom rights. There's so much legitimate cause for concern there and important issues that do need to be raised. But then when you do this, you make it all look like a joke, like you discredit it because you just seem like you want to be a victim and you just seem like you're out of touch with reality, because Merry Christmas is not and really has never been banned, stigmatized, side-eyed in almost any part of American life. It's just not true. It's not real. And for people who came up on the right of center politically and made fun of wannabe victims and snowflakes and sensitive crybabies on the left for so long, to see people cosplaying victimhood like this on the Christian side is incredibly cringeworthy. And it's actually a little bit more frustrating because it feels like a betrayal. It feels like they were supposed to know better. Like, Luke, you were the chosen one. Anakin, you were the chosen one. It feels like that because these people were agreeing with us for years. We laughed at sensitive snowflakes, and now they're pretending that they're bullied because somebody wished them happy holidays. It's like, it's a little maddening if you've been along for the ride. And I do just find it laughable. And I think it's unfortunate because I still think Fox News does an important role in providing certain perspectives and reporting that other networks don't. But this kind of thing makes it look like a joke, unfortunately. But this is not the only Christmas-related controversy. Christmas is getting controversial this year because the White House is putting out unusual posts. So normally, the government, the federal government, will put out happy holidays messages. They'll wish you a Merry Christmas, but they'll also say Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, and they won't get into the religious aspect of Christianity, at least not really from government accounts. But the Trump administration is doing something very different. So, for example, the official Homeland Security account put out a tweet, "Rejoice America, Christ is born." I'll put that on screen. Another one says, on behalf of the Department of Homeland Security, Merry Christmas, Christ is born. And it's Kristi Noem, the DHS secretary, on screen. Another post, Merry Christmas, America. We are blessed to share a nation and a savior. Then on screen, it says, remember the miracle of Christ's birth. It was also other departments getting in on this. For example, the U.S. Department of Labor posted a Christmas church, a beautiful image of a church during Christmas, and wrote, "Let earth receive her king." So this isn't normal. These are not normal government Merry Christmas posts because they are taking the tenets of one religion, this idea that Jesus is the King of all kings, Christ is king, that he's our savior, all this stuff, and they are affirmatively embracing it as true and correct and proselytizing it onto the public. That is concerning because obviously we have religious diversity in America. We have people from all faiths and all sorts of different walks of life, including Jewish people who don't believe this, including other forms of religion who don't believe this, including atheists and agnostics. And we're supposed to have a secular government rather than a Christian nationalist government. But there's this faction in the Republican Party now that is leaning more into this theocratic territory and wants to affirmatively have a Christian government, which is not compatible with a free society. Theocracy is not compatible with a free society, and unfortunately actually tends to erode religious freedom because religious minorities in countries with an official state religion don't fare well, historically, it's fair to say. So there's been some pushback to some of these posts suggesting that they go too far because they don't just wish people a Merry Christmas or other happy holidays. They affirmatively say, like, Christ is king, our savior, thanks for our savior, all this stuff. So here is an article from the Washington Post quoting some critics. Trump aides official religious messages for Christmas draw objections. Overtly sectarian posts on official social media accounts contrast with a tradition of secular holiday messages. More from the Post here. They quote someone saying, "These social media posts are one more example of the Christian nationalist rhetoric the Trump administration has disseminated since day one in office." Rachel Laser, president and CEO of Americans United for Separation of Church and State, said in a statement, "Our Constitution's promise of church-state separation has allowed religious diversity, including different denominations of Christianity, to flourish in America. People of all religions and none should not have to sift through proselytizing messages to access government information." She added, "It's divisive and un-American." I gotta be honest, I think this is a legitimate critique because our Constitution, our First Amendment, does very clearly say that we are to not establish an official religion for the government, but that we are to have both religious freedom and no established church or formal church in terms of the government, which they had at the time, and that the founders actually were bristling against. So when you have the government from official federal accounts affirmatively promoting as true one religion, Christianity, and its fundamental tenets above others, it is taking a side. It is pretty clearly establishing a religion in a way that violates the spirit of the First Amendment and of that kind of secular, diverse, religiously secular government that we've had for so long and that most Americans, I think, still believe in. Now, I do question whether this could actually be successfully challenged legally, because when you want to challenge a government policy or any sort of thing as unconstitutional, you need a party with standing, and you need basically somebody that's harmed by the thing specifically. And just, I'm a general taxpayer or I'm a general citizen and I don't like this is not standing. So, for example, if you want to sue Obamacare, you have to be one of the people that lost their health care because of that form of healthcare was changed and it was outlawed, right? And forced to go into the exchanges. You have to be somebody with a direct personal impact on you. And I'm not really sure who would have that about tweets, but at the very least, I think it potentially violates the spirit of the First Amendment and of this bright line we've had historically in America between our government and an official religion in a way that I don't support and I don't think is good. I also thought the Trump administration's response to the backlash totally missed the mark and didn't really grapple with this criticism. So this is Fox News here. Washington Post article, fretting over Trump officials' religious Christmas messages draws strong pushback. Christmas is a Christian holiday, whether Washington Post likes it or not, says the White House. In a statement to Fox News Digital, White House spokesperson Abigail Jackson stood by the officials' responses. While the Washington Post would prefer we stick to happy holidays, we're saying Merry Christmas again. And Christmas is a Christian holiday for millions of Christians celebrating the birth of their Savior, whether the Washington Post likes it or not, Jackson said. So I feel like they just totally missed the point because the criticism isn't that they wished people a Merry Christmas. I don't think anybody or almost anybody is bothered by that. It's that they took the tenets of one religion and affirmatively stated it as true from official federal government agencies' social media accounts. I mean, imagine if they were wishing people a happy Passover and affirming different beliefs from Judaism as true. Like that's, and you were bothered by that. You wouldn't say, well, you're mad. You're just mad they wished you a happy Passover. No, it's obviously not that. And I feel like they either intentionally or just didn't comprehend it, or but more likely just being intentionally obtuse, ignored the actual substance of the criticism. But I think we're going to see this emerge as a rising tension in American politics between Christian nationalism and a vision of Republican politics that gets increasingly theocratic in some ways, and kind of the old school, fusionistic, more traditional Republicans who very much didn't do that, who didn't believe in that. Anyway, guys, I think this is going to be an issue to watch, these tensions as they come up. And I personally am going to be on the side that wants religious liberty and freedom for all Americans, including traditionalist conservative Christians, but also does not want that bleeding over into official government religion. That's my take, but you guys will have to let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to the like button. Remember, the number one way to support my content is to become a channel member on YouTube. Hit the join button or the link in the description. You will unlock early access to ad-free full episodes of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast, sometimes hours and days before everyone else will get to see the different segments. And it's the best way to support my content so I can keep calling balls and strikes, calling out the left, the right, and everybody, and not have to pander to the YouTube algorithm. Over 200 of you have joined as channel members. Thank you to each and every one of you, and please do sign up if you can. But with that, guys, that'll be it for today's episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll talk again real soon.